on.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 11,000 and Counting. I am your humble host, Alec Kosovel. To my virtual left, Matthew Watson, my loyal co-host. Um, the loss counter, it's up to 11,210. That coming from a four-game loss streak that the Phillies are now on. Uh, Before that, a six-game loss streak. It's where the last 10 losses have come from. It hasn't been a fun time to be a Phillies fan. I should know. Matt should know. I don't think it should be legally allowed for the Phillies to play in California ever again. I don't think that's an overreaction.
Most
They
people have
got
been asking for California to be seceded from the United States for a while now. I'm fully in support of this movement if it means the Phillies will not have to play there.
just the ballparks. Just the ballparks. You just have to cut around the ballparks and let them drift out of the ocean. I think that'll be easier than an entire state as large as California is. So just Oracle Park, just Petco Park, just Chavez Ravine, ODOTCO's going anyway. That should be an easy one to get rid of. Just all of them, all of them into the ocean. Uh, it it started against the Dodgers. We saw this. It's been a couple weeks, but something about having 26 runs scored against you in the first two games, plus another 10 in the third, really doesn't let that be erased from the front of your mind. And this series against the Giants didn't help either. I I don't know whether I want to blame it on the fact that, it's always the Phillies have to travel all the way out to the West Coast to play these games, but it might. But there's also the giant middle finger shaped person, if you lubed up a middle finger in coconut oil, in the middle of the Giants' dugout, as in Gabe Kapler, to just remind us that for some reason we can't beat the Giants.
Dude, like Gabe Kapler has a grip on. I think ever since he was fired, he made it a goal of like, hey, look, guys, I can't lose to the Phillies. Do whatever you got to do. Please help me out. And his
He had
team has
three
delivered.
pinch hitters today in a row hit singles. Who does that?
Yeah, it's
You remember we have a DH. Pinch hitters are barely used. Three in a row. And they all worked out. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no,
I,
every move he makes against us, it works out. And it's just a big middle finger, uh, especially to those who really got on Gabe. I was one of those guys, like, I was glad that when they let him go. I wasn't one of those people who was riding on him his entire tenure, like a large majority of fans were. I definitely think it was the right move to let him go when we did.
no,
Um,
no, I think it was as well.
but
Um,
yeah, no, he has every move he makes against us works, and it's just a big FU from him.
every move he makes, every breath he takes, he'll be watching what the Phillies are doing.
He will. It's brutal.
Let's talk about today's starter.
Uh,
Of course, Taiwan Walker, once again being attached with just a terrible start. He didn't get out of the first inning. Allowed four earned runs, which I don't know how it was only four. Um, Listen, it was his worst start since August 5th of last year against the Braves. He pitched an inning there and allowed seven hits with eight earned runs attached. Um, you know, it, he's up to a 6.53 ERA. That is 88 out of 92 batters with 40 or more, or pitchers with 40 or more innings pitched. 88th out of 92 pitchers.
he's been awful. Like, there's no other real way to say it, but other than he has been awful. And I saw a comparison that was made on Twitter, and it was just kind of summarizing all the big free agent pitchers who signed this offseason. And other than really Jacob deGrom, who has missed a decent amount of the season, there has not been a lot of success out of this free agent pitcher class. but I don't really care about what other teams and players are doing. I want the guys on our squad to be held to a high standard, and Taiwan Walker just has not lived up to it. His control has just been out of no like it's been out of whack all year long. He's
He's
walking
walked.
batters.
I was gonna say he's walked 4.1 batters per 9 inning. That's
Yeah,
the highest rate since 2014 for him when he was 21 years old.
it's awful. No, like you can't be giving professional hitters free opportunities. And in most cases, a lot of the times I feel like he walks the leadoff batter. I don't know the numbers on that,
Mhm.
but just from a gut feel, I feel like the leadoff batter is always the guy who he walks in an inning if he walks anybody. And it sets you up for failure. If you walk the leadoff guy, you're moving him 90 feet closer to scoring, and it's giving the guys behind him ample opportunities to drive him home. And I just feel and like I've liked his approach his last few starts, just going with the two pitch mix, keeping it simple. But still, it's not even like he gets tagged in terms like he's not giving up extremely hard contact. He's not getting roped all over the park. It's just timely hitting that really like his walks are exemplified with the timely hitting that comes against him. Because if those guys weren't on base, a bloop single here, a broken bat single here, wouldn't be as impactful if there was nobody on base. But giving the free pass and then a guy comes in with a bloop single, and then the next guy hits one, over past the third baseman, and now there's a runner. Runner scores and a runner at third, all because you kind of let the leadoff guy on. It's just a domino effect, and the Phillies pitching as a whole has not been good enough to kind of overcome those free passes. And Taiwan Walker has not been good, and today he couldn't get out of the first inning, which in my opinion it was nearly enough to get me to turn off the game. But um, the Phillies pitching as a whole has just not been good. Outside of Jose Alvarado and the majority of Gregory Soto, each guy who has taken the ball for the Phillies has had like an iffy season at best. Like they've had good moments and they've also had some really bad moments. It goes for all the starters and it goes for the majority of the relievers too. Like I've just been very disappointed with the Phillies pitching performance this season.
Yeah, there's nothing much more you could really say about it. Nola, of course, really did not start the season well. I mean, last start, there was some encouraging signs that his fastball finally was averaging about 93. I think it was like 92.8, which is more normal for what he should be at. Zach Wheeler seemed to run into some bad luck, getting a ton of soft hits against him. And then Matt Strom's the only one who routinely pitched well, but he's going to the bullpen, which is fine. But you kind of need starters first off. Then of course you have Bailey Falter, who was just sent to AAA. He was 0-7 with a 5.13. Now I'm not a big win-loss guy, and I don't think anybody really is these days. But 7 losses, 0-7, no wins. I think that says something.
Yeah. And I saw people because I was having conversations with a couple people about Falter, and somebody raised the point. Well, the Phillies haven't. I believe it was the Phillies haven't scored more than 3 runs for Falter in any of his starts. And while the Phillies offense needs to provide, especially for their fifth starter, one thing I'll throw out there is that Bailey Falter does not miss bats, and he doesn't have a put away pitch. The guy, he's not a professional pitcher. He doesn't have anything that a hitter would fear when he steps when they step to the box. Like Aroldis Chapman, he's going to throw a wicked fastball, right? Aaron Nola's got a great curveball. Stuff like that, where you're going up to the plate thinking, all right, I have to watch for this pitch because I know it's coming and I know it can beat me. There's nothing that Bailey Falter has that can beat you. He gives up a lot of contact, and his pitching style is very defensive heavy, and he would really benefit from a team who is lights out defensively. But the Phillies are not that team, right? You have Schwarber in left field, you have Castellanos in right field. Um, our infield is okay at best. Stott's fine. Turner's fine. Bohm's been pretty good this year. Sosa's been a bit of a disappointment defensively this year. Like
At third base,
at third
yes.
base, yeah. So like our defense is not a strong suit, and we knew it wasn't gonna be a strong suit. But
But
Falter,
I think we're surprised in the ways that it hasn't been. I
yeah,
think especially when you're talking about, say, Trey Turner, Bryson Stott only recently, he went a very long streak without allowing an error at second base, and it just happened to be a major costly error last game. Uh, that would have saved the Phillies six unearned runs, which is a
Yeah.
ridiculous amount of unearned runs. I mean, part of it is Bailey Falter was pitching, and what we just said, he doesn't have a put out pitch. You know, nothing's going to overpower you. I've defended his fastball so many times that I honestly forgot this guy really doesn't have a great off speed offering. He doesn't have a good curveball, he doesn't have anything that'll put guys away. And he is that kind of contact guy. And it's annoying. But
It is.
yeah, I've lost my place because I got distracted by Falter. Right, we were talking about the defense. We were really thinking more Schwarber was going to be kind of what killed us after we realized he was going to play the field more. But hasn't really been the outfield defense. Well, maybe Brandon Marsh has been a disappointment in my book.
I would agree.
Um, but Trey Turner it seems he's lost his way. At least a little bit. He's 88th percentile and outs above average, which is a great defensive metric. But he seems distracted by what he's doing at the plate, and that's not much either. You get into that right now if you want, or if you want to keep going defense, let me know, Matt.
Well, last thing I'll say about the defense, I personally feel like it's just a lack of concentration. A prime example is the ball Castellanos drops in game 2 the other night. And while it didn't end up costing them in a way, just because he got the force out at second, the run was going to score anyway. The ball hit him square in the glove.
Yep.
It's a lack of concentration to not catch the ball. And with Stott, with his error the other night, just a lack of concentration. And then last night when he went for that ball that was hit in the air and Cody Clemens didn't see it, Stott didn't see it. Stott made a really good effort to try and make the out, but then he ended up kicking the ball away, which allowed runs to score. It's just the Phillies cannot.
Get out of their own way.
They can't. They really can't. Like they are not good enough of a team right now to overcome those mistakes.
So there's a lot going on right now that I think I almost want to be optimistic, which just sounds like I'm the most just masochist of a Phillies fan there possibly could be, that I want to have optimism. And I should because of this roster. And I should because some of these things are ridiculous and do not fit in the trends. They sit like huge fat outliers that they are. You're having Taiwan Walker with a 6.53 ERA, and he's never had an ERA slightly over 4.5 as the highest he's ever had. That should come down to earth. Trey Turner, a career 300 hitter, he's hitting 262. He has a 4-game hit streak right now. But that should correct itself. There should be a lot going on. 2 for 39 in this losing streak with runners in scoring position. 2 for 39. 051 batting average. That cannot be possible.
That's a disgrace.
Especially when you have 31 hits in those 4 games. That's an average of about 8 per game. 8 hits, that's fine. 8 hits should be about 4 runs, which should get you through pretty much any game.
No, the runners in scoring position issue is just another thing that's so infuriating because even if they were just bad at it, they would have scored more runs than they did. This is like borderline, like you're taking a test, right? It's almost harder to get a 0 than it is a 100 because you have to know what all the answers are in order to not get one right. Law of averages say if it's a multiple choice test and you pick the same answer every time, you're likely to get a 25, right? The Phillies can't even do that right. And I think it's their approach, which is really driving me nuts. And Trey Turner is kind of like the catalyst for it all. How many times do I have to see Trey Turner swing at the first pitch? And 9 times out of 10, he pops it up. When he takes pitches, most of the time it's because the pitcher will if he takes a pitch, it's because the pitcher throws a ball and he's not going to swing at it. More times than not, he gets a hit or he gets on base after waiting. Chase Utley is the perfect example. Chase Utley never swung at a first pitch. He always took the first pitch. Even if it was thrown right down the middle, Utley took it and he waited for his pitch to come and he let the pitcher work. He saw pitches. He worked at bats. Bryson Stott does it extremely well. But he's like the only one on this team who doesn't go ahead and swing at the first pitch. He lets the count work into his favor, and while he doesn't walk a lot, he puts a lot of balls in play. I don't understand how good Trey Turner is such a good hitter. I don't understand how he just goes up there and hacks at everything, regardless of the situation. See a couple pitches, work a count, work a walk. You're one of the fastest players in baseball, and you have 5 stolen bases at this point in the year. Ronald Acuna has got
he
like
is
50.
still 99th percentile on Baseball Savant. 99th percentile in sprint speed. How does that man have 5 stolen bases? He's hitting 262. It's not like he's hitting under 200. He's on base 30% of the time still. Why is he not trying to take the base at least every other time?
I don't care if
And
he even gets thrown out. I want you to be
no,
aggressive.
but listen, JT Realmuto has 7 stolen bases. 7. Yes, he is one of the faster players in the league, not just for a catcher. But why is he running and no one is saying anything to one of the fastest guys in the league?
There's two things. It's either Trey Turner doesn't want to, or
That can't be.
Rob Thompson's telling him not to, because the organization doesn't want him to get hurt because he's had a couple
Why?
injuries.
Why? The worst. This dude has shown to be one of the best sliders in the entire game. Remember that glide across home plate? Because that was against the Phillies.
He's had a couple of those really nice slides this year. I just don't get it. It's either he doesn't want to or they're telling him not to. And regardless of what the reason is, it's ridiculous.
Or no, I think a third option, I think the most reasonable option is he's been in his head so much about actually hitting and now a little bit of fielding that he's not thinking about it. Which I don't know why coaching, and if the coaching says he's going to go, or he's going to get benched. Like, I don't care how much he's being paid. That's going to happen if you don't listen to your coaches. Like, no one is above that.
No.
You set that example. So it must be the coaching not calling for it. I mean, or they're putting it up to him and he's still in his head about previous at-bats or something. Remember, did you see that pitch last night? He swung, missed made it to first base, but it was a curveball so far in the dirt, I think it was buried 6 feet under. Might as well call it a zombie pitch because it must have come back up from the dead.
No, like that was like one of those in Little League where the kid who bats last hasn't gotten on base all season, and you tell him to swing no matter what to see if he can get on, and he finally gets on first base and you clap for him. That's how I felt for Trey Turner last night, because it's almost like when he gets on base at this rate, it's almost like a hallelujah. Look what he finally did.
Oh, he had a leadoff double in the first game of the series, and I was like, you know what? This is going to be the energy to stay up for this game. And I was immediately proven wrong. Or it was game 2. I can't remember which at this point. It's upsetting.
It's so upsetting. And I kind of wanted to come back to today's game because.
But I have one more point. One more point about Trey Turner. 4-seam fastballs. Would you like to know what Trey Turner is hitting against 4-seam fastballs?
I would, because I don't think it's very high.
143. Would you like to know what he hit last year against 4-seam fastballs?
I would.
302. Would you like to know what he hit the year before that on 4-seam fastballs? 358. It can't be just me.
I mean,
turn up the pitching machine to the highest setting and just see if he can catch up to it.
What is Kevin Long doing right now? I tweeted
don't know.
about it last night.
I think he got depressed after Pache tore his meniscus because.
No, truly. Everybody loves to say Kevin Long is the hero of this team, and Kevin Long is so great. He couldn't figure out Nick Castellanos last year. He hasn't been able to help Trey Turner at all this year.
Like I think it was mental with Castellanos last year, completely with like the newborn, moving cities.
I do too, but you would think you would have thought at some point they could have gotten into a groove. And look, Castellanos is back, right? And maybe maybe it is mental with Trey Turner. It's a new city, it's a new town. He knows that there's winning aspirations, and I get it. But maybe they needed like a better mental health coach or something with this team, because I don't understand how this is now the second hitter that they have signed.
Get a priest to get the exorcist to exercise
something.
whatever demon is haunting Philadelphia at this moment.
This is the second year in a row where they have signed an elite hitter. And I'm not talking about a good player. These Castellanos and Trey Turner are elite hitters. And this is the second straight year we're in their first season with the club. They've really struggled. And I know Trey Turner's a notoriously slow starter, but man, like I don't know, man. Like you gotta figure it out. But today with Turner, top of the eighth, he leads off the inning with a single. Really great to see. At this point in the game, it was still 4-4. Game is in reach. And in my opinion, I thought the Phillies had the momentum at this rate. Trey Turner leads off the inning with a single. And first thing I say is I want him moving. Whether it's a hit and run with Harper, who I would trust with my life to put a bat on ball if needed, or you just let him take second outright. They said it on the broadcast. Catcher Joey Bart was 2 for 18 in throwing out runners this season. Trey Turner, as you mentioned, in the 99th percentile in sprint speed. Trey Turner is one of the best base stealers in all of baseball. I would take him every single time if I was a betting man against Joey Bart. Trey Turner didn't break for second one time. Scott Alexander or John Barriva, sorry, threw over a couple times too. He reached both of his what do you call it? Disengagements. So Trey Turner could even gotten another step and a half because he knows if he throws over, he has to get me or I get the base. And he still didn't swipe the bag. Harper ends up striking out on a foul tip. If Trey Turner's at second, I'm not saying Harper doesn't strike out, but maybe Harper has a different approach in his at bat. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Regardless, runner's at second with one out. Nick Castellanos then grounds into a force out, in which Brandon Crawford had to field the ball deep in the hole. His only play was at second base. And why this is important is because if Trey Turner was already at second base after swiping the bag, Crawford either has to eat the throw or he's going to have to make a really long throw and hope he gets Castellanos out, which the chances of him getting him out were very slim because Brandon Crawford is an elite shortstop and he knew his only play was the second base. He would not have had a play on Nick Castellanos at first. And at that point, you either have runners at first or second, or if he does try to throw to first, Turner is quick enough to get the third on the throw. So now you either have runners at the corners with one out, or you have runners at second and first with one out, and Kyle Schwarber comes up, and it's a completely different approach versus he's up with one out versus two outs. He ends up flying out to Michael Conforto. Maybe Turner tags up from second and gets the third. Now you have a runner 90 feet away for the next batter, who I believe is JT Realmuto, who's been swinging a hot bat. Not running there completely changes every aspect of the at bat following Trey Turner getting on first base. And I was just so disappointed. And then the inning prior, we can come back to here is Alec Bohm leads off the inning with a single. Brandon Marsh comes to the plate, and the first thing I say is Brandon Marsh should bunt here. What does Brandon Marsh do? He lays down a bunt. It wasn't a good bunt, but I was happy enough that he got the bunt. They didn't get Bohm at second, so both guys were on, and they were gifted an extra base runner. Josh Harrison comes in to pinch hit for Cody Clemens. Not sure why it wasn't Edmundo Sosa, but regardless, Josh Harrison comes to the plate. Josh Harrison doesn't attempt to lay down a bunt, and he strikes out swinging. You just were given a free base runner on the sacrifice bunt. You were content with giving up an out to move the runner into scoring position. Why not move both runners into scoring position and trade the out with the top of the lineup coming up with Stott and Turner after that? I don't understand the thinking here. You were already thinking along the ways of small ball and moving the runners over and sacrificing it out. Why did you give up when they gave you the free base? Give them the out and trade off moving two runners in scoring position. And I know we're not good with runners in scoring position, but give it a shot anyway. Because what comes up next, Bryson Stott, he grounds into a double play. That ball's hit on the ground. It's not going to be a double play at this rate because there's two runners in scoring position. So either they throw home and they try and get the runner out at home and Stott's safe at first, or they succeed the run and Stott's out at first, and the Phillies are now up 5-4. Again, it completely changes the landscape of the game, but instead of playing smart, winning baseball, they're going up there and praying for the big hit. And I don't know about you, but I don't feel confident in Josh Harrison coming up in a very clutch situation and coming up with a big hit. It's just two examples of the Phillies playing really poor baseball, and I don't know if that's coming from Rob Thompson or if that's just the players thinking, all right, we're going to go out there and we're going to swing for the fences and see what happens. But in case they don't know, this team is not a power team. They don't have Rhys Hoskins. We're not hitting a lot of home runs. Play smart and winning baseball, and I guarantee you more times than not, you'll put yourself in a position to succeed. They are making it way too hard on themselves, and they're not coming through, and that is what is so frustrating to watch about this team.
Listen, you don't have to tell me. It's been frustrating to watch this team. Again, everything just feels weird. Like they're only 3 games under 500, even though they lost 4 straight. It feels like they could turn around any minute with some of these things. But then you look at Brennan Marsh, we just mentioned. Brennan Marsh is hitting 182 in May. He started hot and now he's hitting 182. I don't know if he's tired out there and they need somebody to play center field one night for him, but I don't know what's up to him. We're not confident with, men on base, not confident getting that big hit. Kyle Schwarber is hitting 175 and 125 in May. In fact, his last 2 hits are home runs, and 4 out of his last 6 hits are home runs. He has 10 on the season, but that's all he's doing. That he's looking worse than Joey Gallo right now. I know June is next month.
Yeah, well,
but if the June boom doesn't hit,
no, you're exactly right. Schwarber said going into the season that he wanted to limit strikeouts. It was something that he was working on. He did not want to strike out as much as he did last year. Through 42 games, he has struck out 52 times. That's at least once per game. Last season, Schwarber played in 155 games and struck out an even 200 times. So at this pace that he is on, he's
first
going to
time in
strike out.
Phillies history.
Yeah. At this pace, he's going to strike out more than he did last year after openly saying he wanted to strike out less. I don't understand how you are actively working on striking out less and you are striking out more. Tell me how that makes sense.
It doesn't. Nothing on this team really makes sense. Like JT Realmuto, we mentioned, is getting hot. JT Realmuto is now hitting 304 with an 838 OPS. Back just on April 25th, he was hitting 247 with a 699 OPS. I don't know. I don't know what to say. It feels like as soon as you turn one switch on, another goes off. I should be happy that like Ranger Suarez is back in the rotation and be optimistic that he's there now. But again, it feels, I don't know. I mean, look at even some of the double luck the Phillies getting. Like Jeff Hoffman. Jeff Hoffman's not supposed to be on this team, but he is. And it's because he had bullpen sessions against Bryce Harper and impressed the Phillies. He has 4 innings pitched so far with 8 strikeouts.
He's
No
been
earned runs.
fantastic.
But then you look at like injury to Alvarado, but he should be back soon. But then losing both first baseman and Hoskins and Hall, and then Pache after finally hitting just doesn't. Or well, I mean, tears his meniscus. I'm getting my pains confused. And of course, Andrew Painter, who might have started throwing, but it's not like he's ready to pitch in any game soon. I don't know.
Look, the Phillies were at the same exact spot right now as they were last year. In fact, they
And
would go
that's
on to
why
lose the
I'm
next game.
fine.
And that's why I haven't completely thrown in the towel. But the difference between, and another thing is the difference between this year and last year. At this point, they were 8.5, 9 games back of the Mets, right? The Mets are
Mm-hmm.
awful this year. They're in fourth place in the division. The Braves had an opportunity to really run away with this thing, and they've stumbled the last few days. The Marlins look like a competent team for the first time in a while, and it's just like it's still wide open. I think the Phillies are a game out of the wild card if the season ended today, right? But the thing with this is, I tweeted it before this Giants series started. The, the when you compete against other teams in your league, in this case the National League, you have to start taking series. One of the reasons why the Phillies made the playoffs last year is because they took the season series over the Brewers. That was the tiebreaker that really came in clutch for them. Without it, I don't know if we really make the
They
playoffs.
beat the Dodgers too.
And they beat
Remember?
right, but we just got swept by the Giants, and we'll see them again later at our place. But like that puts more pressure on that series than if you had taken at least one in this series, right? They play the Cubs this weekend. We didn't beat the Cubs last year. The Cubs,
That can't happen again. I don't think it will. I don't. I really don't. I don't want it to, but I don't think it can. These Cubs, again, they're a little bit more improved from what they were last year, but they're still fairly a mediocre team. Like,
I don't, but like this is the series, right? The Cubs have been a better team, like you said. They might be a team that's battling for the with the Phillies for one of those wild card spots at the end of the year. The Cubs have shown that they're willing to spend, and they'll probably go out to deadline if they're close and make a move,
they
right?
could even win their division if they really get at it.
They could, right? The Brewers are not like this
The
big
Pirates are
giant,
free
right?
falling.
Pirates are falling. The Cardinals look like the worst team in baseball, which yeah, that makes me happy. We broke them.
Like,
I'm very pleased.
we love it.
We
We
did
love it.
something right. But it's just
We
like,
broke Helsley.
yeah, no, seriously, like we broke that whole team. We retired Yachty and they've fallen apart, but the Phil
Yachty and Pujols.
Yachty and Pujols, yeah. Um,
Okay, if any Cardinals fan ever tries to hold 2011 over us, we can always just say, "Hey, we retired Yachty and Pujols."
damn right.
I
We
that
sent
feels
we
it
sent the
feels
Cardinals to
good.
the grave, but
It
I just
feels
hope
good.
the Cubs don't send us to ours. And
I don't think they will. I don't. Their starting pitching isn't that great that
neither's
it
the
would,
Phillies though.
but their bullpen too. Their bullpen is also not great. Like their pitching staff is their weakness. I think we're going to be in for an offensive series, especially if it's warm in Chicago. If it's warm in Chicago, the
Well,
ball
it's in
flies.
Philly. The series is in Philly.
If it's warm in Philly, the ball flies. It's what I've always said. That's what I said in the last couple of seconds. No one can prove otherwise.
Yeah,
There's no rewind function on this podcast. You can try, but you're not going to find it. Um, yeah, they're going to beat the Cubs.
they have to.
Matt, say it with me. They're going to beat the Cubs. They're
They,
going to
they are
beat
going to beat the
the
Cubs
Cubs.
at least once, hopefully twice, hopefully three times. They do have their horses going. They have Suarez on Friday, Nola on Saturday, Wheeler on Sunday.
Oh, that's lovely.
They cannot lose this series. And I'm not
No,
saying that they physically can't because we just
no,
watched them do it.
they
They
need a win.
need to win this series. And
Like they are.
you take 2 of 3 and you're a game below 500, you sweep, you're back up to 500. You have to win the series.
You know what? I'm gonna
You have
blame
to.
the Sixers. I'm just gonna blame the Sixers. I'm gonna blame James Harden. I'm gonna blame Doc Rivers. I don't want to blame Joel Embiid, but sure, I'll blame all of them. I'm gonna say that the Phillies were paying attention to that series and it blew their, emotion. Yeah, remember, this was a team that just won what 5 straight
Mhm.
games after losing 6 straight. And hey, it happened to coincide with the Sixers playing the Celtics fairly well or fairly lucky, whichever way you look at it, until that terrible last game, which I guarantee you a lot of the players are paying attention to. I'm putting the blame on the Sixers because I can.
That's fair. That is fair. Let's just hope Trey Turner has his game one James Harden moment this weekend where he drops maybe 2 home runs, a triple. I maybe a stolen base for the love of God.
Give
Um,
me more than one. Maybe that's possible. I don't know if you're allowed to steal more than one base in a game.
no, I don't think it's allowed. I think MLB changed that in the rules this year too.
I think so. I think so. It was to even out the pickoff rule, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're allowed to step off the mound and take 3 minutes to fix your pitch com, but Bryce Harper can't put his elbow guard on.
Which is okay, let's talk about that. We're talking about a league that isn't prioritizing one of their stars' safety.
Hmm.
It's a brace, and I get that he's somehow playing without it because he doesn't have time to put it on for the good of the team, because he can't be fiddling with it when the pitch comes in. But we can't have an exception for a player with a major injury, one of the great stars of this game. What's wrong with that picture?
Well, it's just Rob Manfred for you. You take 1 step forward and he takes 3 steps back. I mean, the pitch clock has worked, and I've enjoyed it. It's ruined the ballpark experience. I'll tell you that much.
I
But
still have yet to go to a game, and I'm worried. I don't.
uh,
I'm scared
Dollar
almost.
Dog Night was the worst game I've ever been to my entire life.
Oh,
I quite literally, not only did I have to miss 3 innings to get dogs, but I didn't even get dogs because they sold out right in front of me. Um, but that's not why we're here. But yeah, no, the ballpark experience is ruined. You have to get there early if you want to either eat or you want to shop or do anything like that because you were going to sacrifice time and miss at least an inning, inning and a half, depending on what you're trying to do, especially for food. I'm sure maybe the store's a little quicker and I'm sure bathroom lines aren't as bad. But yeah, no, like just standing in line to get food is it was bad before, but at least you knew, all right, maybe I'll miss half an inning. You can get up when the other team is
You're
batting.
miss one inning, like you're missing like the third inning or fourth inning, not
Yeah,
like a major inning that you're like, I'm not worried about this.
but you
Or
get up
like,
in the
oh, the bottom of
fourth,
the order's coming up,
exactly,
coming up.
right? You
Or like,
knew,
you know what? I'll be able to watch some of this while I walk around too. Like it's not a you're not gonna miss too much because
hmm
it's not like, oh, I can turn around, check, like, oh, what's going on? Oh, there's a TV there. Oh, I'm listening to Fransky. I can follow it. It's not like you're rushing and it's but anyway, uh
yeah, no,
I'm
it's bad, but it it's a little bit better on TV, so I guess that's their trade-off. Who cares? I don't know. But one thing I will say is the Cubs catchers are Yan Gomes and Tucker Barnhart. Barnhart's a solid defensive catcher, but Yan Gomes is old as hell. I swear if the Phillies
is he
aren't
like
taking
37?
I think he's 35.
Okay.
Um if the Phillies aren't taking advantage of him when he's behind the plate, I'm going to scream. I'm going to scream.
I yeah, I mhm. Again, you know what? Their rookie first baseman is gonna It's Mervis. I think Matt Mervis.
Yeah, no, he's gonna yeah,
Yeah,
Matt Mervis, yeah, he's gonna have like 3 home runs this series.
yeah.
Yan Gomes always torches us, so he'll have a good game in this series. And I can definitely see Cody Bellinger taking us deep once or twice.
Yep. We will beat the Cubs, but it's gonna be ugly.
2 or 3. That's all I'm asking. Two or
It's
three.
all I want. It's
You're
all
at
we need.
home, take 2 or 3, and then you welcome the
I swear.
Diamondbacks.
I listen, Matt. I will put this in record because last time I predicted that the Phillies would finish the month of April one game over 500, and they did exactly that.
It's true.
I'm predicting that this team will have a winning streak over 10 games this season.
Wow.
I believe it. You're going to get one random way through the rotation where you get good games out of your 4 and 5 starters. Or maybe it's later in the season when Painter's in the rotation, and then you don't have to worry about some of these other guys. Maybe it's when Wheeler and Nola are clicking and Ranger, which most of the time they are. And then you have a lineup which is extremely potent, and say Derek Hall's back in the lineup at first base. Say, you have Pache back on the bench. You'll have options. And guys heating up. Say Schwarber heats up, Turner heats up. Not everybody's going to do it at once, but everybody cold at once is happening right around now and has happened. So why can't it happen?
Look, I would love to say it. Last year they won 9 in a row, and it was roughly in a week and a half when they went on that streak. I don't know what the catalyst is going to be for that. They're not firing Rob Thompson, nor should they. Um,
No.
but look,
I do want to say one thing, not on firing Rob, but is this team playing too loose? It almost feels like they're trying to play on vibes that were there at the beginning of the season that deteriorated very quickly, and they don't realize that they're gone and that they need to play a little bit more disciplined than they need to play, oh, we're this fun Phillies team that's going on a run. That's a different thing. This is the beginning of the season, getting closer and closer to the middle of the season. There's something going on within the coaching management. It's hard to say exactly what, but there needs to be a little tightening up of the ship.
no,
A
I agree.
little cleaning up. Just let's tone things back a little bit. Let's become a machine before we become an animatronic.
I like that. No, I agree. It seems like they came into the season with this like, oh, we just went to the World Series. We'll go back there. We'll make the playoffs. And it's felt like they
And then they
had,
got smacked in the face by the
yeah,
Rangers, and it took a while to respond from that.
yep. I hope they don't feel like, oh, we were in this spot last year. We can go on a run again and we'll be back in the playoffs and do the same thing. Because,
I'm not saying that that's a bad uh, thing to have in your mind. It's just like, hey, we can do it. But I think they're just playing a little bit too much with that same kind of energy of being the fun surprise team. This Phillies roster has not been built to be a surprise team.
mm,
This Phillies roster has been built to win 95 plus games.
yeah, no, they are. And one of the things I'll say about that is they have the worst body language when they're losing. Whenever Alec
Yeah,
Boehm doesn't get a hit, that when he wants it, he slams the helmet, slams the bat. JT, when he strikes out looking, always rolls the eyes. Schwarber always kind of like, what, like, come on, like, what is that? Like, he throws the head back, the hands come up sometimes. It just feels like when things aren't going their way, they almost feel entitled, in my opinion. Like, oh, come on, like, seriously, like it feels like when things are going so well, it's like, oh, look how much fun we're having. This is awesome. When things are tight, you never see. I feel like you
it
never see that
feels like a
energy.
group of teenagers,
It
just
does.
less horny and less
I
swinging.
don't know about that first part. We've had a
Well,
lot of
okay.
Phillies babies
Yeah, we do.
recently.
Well, yeah, that, and we have seen what their playlist was last year.
That's true.
Anyway, uh, yeah, there needs to be a buckling down. Um, whether that's a team meeting, you know, I don't think this is a type of team that vibes will die. I think guys like Schwarber, like Realmuto, like Nola, I think Wheeler too, most of the starting rotation are these guys that will really respond to something like that. Like, or even guy like Craig Kimbrell, who's been around for so long, and it is considered to be one of the upper echelon players of the last 12, 15 years. There's something that can be done. I don't feel despondent about this team, although they make me feel that way every time I watch them. But then I think about this roster and think about the law of averages, and I think they can do this. Matt, tell me I'm crazy.
You're not crazy because if you look at the landscape of baseball right now, it is such a conjumbled mix. No team has really pulled away, and there's really no team that's out of it yet.
The
It,
Tampa Bay Rays.
well, the Rays, yeah, but I mean, we're not worried about the Rays. Um,
Continue on.
but yeah, so like, it's still anybody's season. It's anybody's division. It's anybody's ball game, and that is why I'm not really panicked yet. But I just feel like they're wasting opportunities to take it. Like they're missing opportunities to get ahead of others. They could have been building up a really nice, like they could be 5 games over 500 right now, right? They could be a couple games back of the Braves. I'm not saying they'd be in first place of the division or anything like that, but they could be one of those top couple teams that everybody's talking about right now. Like, look, the Phillies had a great run last year. They started the season off well, and they're kind of continuing that, and they're a team to beat. But instead, the Phillies are playing, and I feel like the Phillies always do this. They play up to good teams, they play down the bad teams, and then teams that are at the same level as them, it's 50-50. I just wish the Phillies would take care of business, win the games you're supposed to win the games where the other team gives you the opportunity to win, you can't obviously win every game. You can't win every series. But if you're taking 2 of 3 every other series, most series you're taking 2 of 3. I don't necessarily need sweeps. If you're gonna lose a series, at least get a game. Just do what good baseball teams do. Good baseball teams don't get swept, and they
Like,
got swept several times this season.
listen, they are wasting these chances that they've been given. They're never going to dance again the way they danced on their own.
No, they're not. They told us themselves that that's in the past, and that's a second place song. So maybe should go out and find their first place song and start fucking playing it.
I don't care what it is. If it's the Macarena, well, wait, no, let's not find like Baby Shark or something. Oh God, it's gonna be like Carly Rae Jepsen.
Call me maybe.
Yeah, it's gonna be Call Me Maybe, isn't it? I just could see 10 years prior just flashing back, and all of a sudden they're just doing this in the dugout, just like the Harvard baseball team. Yes,
Bro, I
I
don't care
watched
what
that
they do if
video
they
a
start
lot.
winning games.
Yeah, I don't either, but I also don't want to get a song like that stuck in my head or like Friday or something terrible.
Oh
Anyway,
man.
anyway. Um, I think there's enough here.
They've got a great team that I've, we're missing some players with injury. That's fine. Every team's going to deal with
Mhm.
that. This is a really good baseball team that is playing like a really bad baseball team. And at some point, they are going to figure it out and they're going to get a little bit healthier. And I think that Dombrowski's going to make a move or two soon because I mean, they have to find a fifth starter at this point. Um,
At least
so
find some depth. I
something
think you can find something out there
they can snag a
floating.
guy off a AAA roster somewhere and he can eat some innings, something. But Bailey Falter should not get another opportunity for a while. You've got they got the Cubs and the Diamondbacks, the next two series at home. I want them to take 4 games. I want them to win both series, take 2 or 3 from both, sit, start building up some
I
equity.
just had a vision. I
Okay.
just had a vision. In that Diamondback series, JT Realmuto is going to be the star. That is a Diamondbacks team that loves to run, a Diamondbacks team that has not run into JT Realmuto's cannon. So let's just think about that Gold Glover showing off while he's hitting over 300. Mm, I
Corbin Carroll, meet JT Realmuto.
I just hope we don't have to face their ace.
Yeah, I don't want to face Zach Allen either.
He's the number one chance of being the Cy Young for a reason.
He's
He's all
great.
that in a bag of chips.
He's great.
Yep.
But yeah, win at least 4 of the next 6, and then we finally get to some NL East action with the Braves and the Mets on the road.
They
Let's
still have not played an NL East team.
Well,
Let's
they
remember
played the
that too.
Marlins. They did play the Marlins.
Oh, did we play the Marlins? It's
Yeah,
been so long.
but that's the only division series so far. So let
Wasn't it in Miami too?
it was home.
It was. Wow, I am off. I
Yeah.
am. I am off.
So build some momentum before you start playing some division rivals. Let's get it
Well, we
going.
haven't played the Nationals,
We have not. Yeah, only
so
played the Marlins.
that's
So
that's at least 5 games over 500 right there.
haven't played the A's. Haven't played the Royal. We got some softies coming. But hey, take care of the
Tigers
business
coming
at
up,
home.
and
Tigers coming up.
maybe we debut a little bit of a fan club, see if we can get a certain player going.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Hey, that's just saying. Coming up this first week of June, people maybe keep an eye on left field.
Keep an eye on left field.
All right. Well, I
But
think that's all we have here today, and I think that's all the emotion that we can just spew for the last whatever. It hurts.
we'll be all right though. We'll be all right.
We will be. Take care, everybody.
Peace.